Yeah, we met at work.
Yeah.
I know, don't dip the pen in the company ink. It works.
The company ink tastes good. I'm Angela, and I identify as bisexual. I am in a primary relationship with Bradford, and I'm a scientist.
And I'm Bradford. I am also bisexual. I'm in a primary relationship with Angela, and I sell medical gear to hospitals and research laboratories. So our relationship, I guess, model, structure, whatever, is we are open poly. We have multiple partners, each of us, and we have partners that we have together, and we have partners that we have separately. That started probably from the very beginning of our relationship. I always joke that the first time I told her that I wanted us to be serious, I was like, but I also want to see other people. And she's like, oh, whew, thank goodness, I thought you wanted monogamy. It's like, and she was ready to walk out, I think, at that point.
Yeah. I just knew that it wasn't for me, it wasn't for us really. And so yeah, from the beginning we've been open, and we've seen other people both together and separately.
When we first started this relationship model, we had this huge list of rules and structures and strictures that we would not break. And what we found is, as you move along, you sort of filter out the rules that are silly. And we've now probably just got one or two strong rules.
The strong rules that we have are, we always play safe, so we always use condoms with partners, dental dams if they prefer it, and we always let the other person know where we're going to be, potentially who we're going to be with if we can, so just, you know, some basic contact and some knowledge as to where the person is. We usually talk about it a little bit ahead of time, but definitely afterwards. So we always will talk about what happened, the date, who you're with, and it can be in as much detail or as little as we maybe have time for or want to, but I think it's pretty hot to hear about what happened and to discuss it. And I think that just kind of intensifies the relationship, and it also takes away any doubt as to, is this person going to come back to me or are they not, kind of, because you're still sharing the experience even though it was a separate type of thing. And so yeah, we find that talking about it really, really helps.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think a lot of people struggle with, oh, what if they fall in love with this person and whatnot. And what I want for her is whatever's best for her. And if I'm what's best for her, then that's fantastic. And I will do anything to stay at what's best for her. But if she finds someone that's better for her, then I fully support that. So when it comes to jealousy, I think it's very important that you realize what you're actually talking about. And oftentimes we say jealousy, and what we mean is either envy or fear of missing out. And we lump all of those things in together, and those three things are vastly different. A little bit of jealousy can be healthy. Envy is, you know, I want what my partner has. That's a little less healthy. And then fear of missing out is something that we all have. We've all got that, like, I don't want to go out tonight. And then your friends go out and you're like, oh man, I wish I'd gone out. So you really need to kind of dig deep inside yourself and figure out what am I feeling and why? Where are those feelings coming from? I think if it's an irrational jealousy, that's not healthy. It's not good for you and it's not good for your relationship. If it's a jealousy that is fed with positivity and love, which I know seems kind of silly, but we used to say, or I used to say, I've never felt jealousy. But I think that we both feel jealousy, it's just not an unhealthy thing. It's not something that consumes us. I think a lot of people struggle because they let that emotion consume them.
I also think it's a thing where jealousy is okay. A little bit of jealousy is natural and it can be healthy, but you have to discuss it as a couple and you have to work through that and figure out what is the root of the jealousy, and is it healthy, is it not? How do we get past this, or is it something we do live with and we deal with, as long as it's not all consuming? But having that discussion and acknowledging it with your partner is a really healthy thing, I feel like. And also, you can twist it to be a bit more positive. So rather than being jealous because someone's looking at your partner or someone's interested in your partner, be proud of that and say, yes, my partner is worthy of someone else looking at them and wanting to be with them. And so it is just kind of giving it a positive spin, which takes some mental work and it takes time to work through that in your head. But at the end of the day, it makes it such a better experience if you can give it that positive twist.
Some of our closest friends own Our Secret Spot, which is the swingers club here in Sydney, in Annandale. And we started out just going to the parties, chatting with them, and realizing that like there are people, like there are emergency contacts now. If something happens to one of us, you know, he gets called. So it's like they're some of our closest friends. They are ticketed events. There are people who have just house parties, but this is in an actual factual club that gets cleaned regularly, et cetera, et cetera. They're great experiences. Angela and I also run our own parties out of that club. We call them pendulum parties, and the idea is that no matter your gender, you're allowed to swing both ways, and it's a safe space for people, no matter how you identify both gender and sexuality, to see other people and play with them, and to have an opportunity to either play with them or near them.
So when you go to the Swingers Club for the first time, they will give you a tour, and on the tour they'll tell you some very basic rules. And typically those rules center around consent, and it's around behavior in different spaces. Maybe some things are acceptable in some spaces than others. And this happens at, I would say, basically every swingers club that we've been to, bar one. There was one that didn't do that. But most swingers clubs, when you go to them, there will be a tour if you're a new person, and they will give you some very basic rules to adhere to. Beyond that, it's a bit of basic respect and common sense, and treat people like you want to be treated. But there are some very basic rules as you're moving around the club, that maybe some things are allowed in some spaces and not others. Always ask for consent before touching people, especially if you're jumping into a play situation, and discuss what you want out of a situation before you get in there.
Just to add to that, play to the safest person in the room. So if somebody wants dental dams, that's what we do. We use dental dams. Or if somebody doesn't want penetrative sex, that's what we do. So that's part of the, I'm not going to say the initiation, but as you walk through the club and you get a tour, the guide is giving you this information.
And there's also condoms and lube in all the spaces. So there's plenty of protection around. There's no excuse not to use it.
Some of us are very specific about the tools that they like to use.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you're the one that you carry your bag and it's got like your flogger and paddles and all the kit.
That's true. Because I'm more comfortable with my own gear, and so so we do tend to, if we're going to do anything like that, we do take it with us. And it's a bit safer because it's our stuff and we know it. And
in things like, for instance, a leather whip, it's hard to clean. So if somebody's fluid bonded to it, you don't want to risk that. So we know our own stuff. We know where it's been, how it's been cleaned, and at what level of safety it is.